Satyavan sir,
Yes, sir.
shall we start?
Yes, sir. Just give 2 minutes. We'll
Okay, okay.
start it.
Yeah.
Sir, we are ready.
Yes, sir, ready.
So time to go. Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ask madam's permission. Sujata
Madam,
madam's permission.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
please go ahead, madam.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Uh, Honorable Dr. Sujata Shanbag madam, respected Principal Dr. Veena Sanekar, respected principals and IQSC coordinators of the various institutions participating in this national webinar, respected deans, teachers, KJ Somaya College of Arts and Commerce, the teachers from Menti institutions, and all the teacher participants, the project assistants, and the non-teaching staff. A very good afternoon to all of you. Friends, the Human Resource Development Ministry, the Government of India, has launched the University Grants Commission scheme called Paramarth, with an aim to mentor National Accreditation and Assessment Council accreditation aspirant institutions for promoting quality assurance in higher education. And this has been implemented through hub and spoke model. The services provided by the mentor institutions, especially to improvise the quality in the mentee institution. This has allowed a centralized control over operational efficiency, resource utilization to attain all overall development of the mentee institutions. KJ Somaya College of Arts and Commerce, which is recognized as a mentor institution by UGC, is one of the premier institutions in Somaya Vidyavihar campus as well as the Mumbai and the Maharashtra. It is permanently affiliated to the University of Mumbai. The college was well established in the year 1959 by philanthropist and visionary Pujya Padma Shri Karamshi Jethabai Somaya. It is recognized by the UGC under 2F and 12B of the UGC Act, and it is aided by the government of Maharashtra. In the last 6 decades, the Somaya Vidyavihar campus has grew to 34 institutions, catering to the needs of the students from primary to postdoctoral level. As a mentor, we have been taking overall efforts to enhance the quality of the mentee institution, and thus we have more than 8 colleges recognized as the mentee institutions with us. Besides, we are making serious and consistent efforts to enhance the profile of each mentee institutions so as to improvise the quality of research, teaching, and learning methodologies. Thus, we have conducted 7 days faculty development program in collaboration with Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Training, with the in collaboration with the Sydenham Faculty Development Center, Mumbai. 1 day seminar on plagiarism and research ethic, and a constant visit to the mentee institutions, personal contacts, and besides all of this, a very important 8 national webinars covering each NAC criteria and many more activities, which included especially our efforts to instill a quality among the mentee institutions. We have set with a mission to enable all our mentee institutions not only to enhance the qualities but also to enable them to successfully accredit by the NAC. We are very grateful to the University Grants Commission to provide us with this opportunity and to recognize us one of the potential mentor for this scheme. And we are committed to our aspirant institutions. Today, we have eminent and rich, resourceful personality, Dr. Sujata P. Shanbag. She is having a myriad of experiences, who has personally visited more than 1,000 institutions for assessment. This itself proves why this seminar is today so significant and important for all of us. But before I transfer this entire session to Sujata Madam, I request our college principal, Dr. Srimati Veena Sanekar, who is a literary activist, who is a very well-known literary figure, who has been spearheading the movement to preserve and conserve the indigenous languages and also to bring a dialogue between the indigenous languages and the rest of the other languages of the world. She has been one of the mentor and she has been one of the inspirational guide for all these programs which we have conducted over the last 3 months and even beyond the last 3 months also. And therefore, before we have a Sujata Madam's session, I request our principal madam to give a formal welcome address to this entire gathering to Dr. Veena Sanekar Madam, Principal, KJ Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce, Mumbai. Madam Veena Sanekar.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of KG Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce, Autonomous.
Madam, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are unable to hear you. Please, can you a little bit louder and near to your mic, please?
On behalf of KG Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce, Autonomous, I welcome our chief guest, Dr. Sujata Shanbag, Advisor, NAC. Madam, warm welcome to you. I also welcome the dignitaries, different principals, management representatives, IQC members, teacher colleagues who are there, who are attending this session today. I also welcome our own staff members, our own colleagues, our head of the departments, our both the deans, Vice Principal Dr. Satyavan, and also our IQSC chairperson. Actually, when we heard about Paramar scheme, the point which fascinated to us was collective growth of different institutions. This idea was really a unique idea of UGC, I must say, to help other mentee institutes in their own growth and side by side our own growth towards quality, towards academic excellence. Quality-based growth, which was the focus center point of this scheme. We thought of applying for this scheme, and I'm really indeed very happy that our IQSC has taken a lot of efforts, and we are at present one mentor institute from approximately 5 institutes which are situated in Mumbai. Our IQSC team and Paramar team is really working hard towards it. They have visited all mentee institutes. They studied well. They have understood these institutes. They have studied their challenges, which are the challenges before them. And really the motivation which our IQSC team is giving to mentee institutes. I can see the bonding between us and our mentee institutes. Beyond that, when our IQC team organized FDP program, nearly from all India level, different teachers, different colleges came to our contact. And really, we are very happy. That is sort of network which was really through all these webinars, which is created, the give and take, मराठीमध्ये ज्याला आदान प्रदान म्हणतात, that आदान प्रदान हिंदी में भी वही कहते हैं, is so useful for everybody, and this happiness is really wonderful. From 24th October, we have started this webinar series, and today is the last webinar in this series. I must say, lot of things to do ahead, but in this series, today's is the last webinar. And in this webinar, I'm very happy that Dr. Sujata Shanbag, advisor NAC, Madam is with us, and her knowledge, her experience will really help us to grow. Once again, I welcome Madam and all of you. Let's grow together, and especially in Corona pandemic, the happiness, the efforts, and the collective efforts, I must say, which all of us are taking. I salute to everybody, and let's proceed to further this webinar. And I request Dr. Satyavan Hanegave and Dr. Mahendra to take over this webinar ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much for your inspirational words. Now, I request Dr. Mahendra Mishra to introduce our resource person to Dr. Mahendra Mishra.
Thank you, sir. Respected Principal Madam, Vice Principal, sir, Research Dean and Dean Academics, dear colleagues and my dear participant, on behalf of KJ Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce, Internal Quality Assurance Cells, I would like to welcome you all. Myself, Dr. Mahendra Mishra, convener of this one-day national webinar on NAC accreditation process and documentation. So it's my pleasure to introduce to today's resource person, Dr. Sujata Shanbag, advisor, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, Bangalore, India. Madam has a postgraduate degree in education from Regional Institute of Education, Mysore, with specialization in educational technology and special education. Her PhD work was focused on child development, for which she has chosen to work with socially disadvantaged children, especially ST and SC population. She has a doctoral degree in education from Karnataka University, Dharwad, Karnataka. She started her career as a primary school teacher. To pursue her research interest, she joined as a junior research fellow of NCERT and moved on to the Education Division of Planning Commission, Government of India, New Delhi, as an economic officer. She has also worked in the Project Evaluation Office of Planning Commission, Bangalore. She has over 20 years of experience in research, educational planning, and quality assurance. She has coordinated more than 1,000 assessment and accreditation visits across the country and has contributed extensively to the development of manuals, state-wise analysis, and the different guidelines of NAC. Over the years, she has also organized several awareness programs, training programs, post-accreditation programs, capacity building programs, and assessor interaction meetings. She also nominated under faculty exchange program. She has undergone training in assessment and accreditation in Australia and in Malaysia. She has also co-authored and authored papers presented in various national and international conferences. So now we have with us a very talented resource person, Dr. Sujata P. Shanbhag. Satyavan sir, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Now, without waiting for any minute here, so we are all eagerly waiting for Dr. Sujata P. Shanbhag Madam to address us, enlighten us, and guide us in a NAC accreditation process and documentations. Over to Sujata Madam.
Thank you. Let me
Sujata.
share my PPT first. I think you have to. Okay. Dear Principal, Vice Principal, IQAC coordinators of KJ Somaya College of Arts and Commerce, my dear Reverend teaching fraternity who are participating here, and the management friends, Namaskar to each one of you present here. Let us look at NAC A&A process and how it helps higher education institutions to improve quality, and what are the important things are the documents which are required for A&A process, especially in this online mode. NAC believes that quality is primarily the responsibility of higher education institutions. Institution which understands itself will be able to excel. Understanding the importance of self-evaluation, NAC has adopted assessment and accreditation process with self-evaluation followed by external evaluation. External evaluation may help you to find or show you where you stand, but the improvement should happen only through the institution's personnel. In line with the international practice, NAC has developed assessment and accreditation process suiting to the Indian context. Through assessment and accreditation process, NAC is trying to empower institutions to build quality culture. The vision of NAC is to make quality the defining element of higher education in India through a combination of self and external quality evaluation, promotion, and sustenance initiatives. As mentioned in the vision statement, self-evaluation is an integral part of NAC's assessment and accreditation process. HAIs, while evaluating themselves, will understand their strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. Once you know about your strength, you can strengthen those things, and weaknesses, you can weaken your weaknesses and you can overcome them, and you can also plan fully to use the opportunities, and you will know what are the resources which are available and how can optimally you utilize it, and which are the plans you can think of without financial burden. And you can even plan to mobilize the resources further. In the self-evaluation process, HAIs will be able to identify their best practices, internalize them, and institutionalize them. The best practices institutionalized will go a long way in strengthening the quality of the institution. Best practices are those practices which enhances the quality of the institutions and add value to the institutions and its various stakeholders. Best practices are institution specific and depends on the context of the institutions. It may be developed depending on the situation or the problems you faced, and to overcome that, you might have planned some practices, and over a period, it might have yielded quality and you might have achieved the goal. It is observed that institutionalization of best practice have resulted in commendable improvement in the quality of higher education institutions. So we have to build the system. It should be institutionalized and internalized. It should not be person oriented. If the person moves from that institution, then the whole system may collapse. And coming back to the self-evaluation, it will help the institutions to have its own benchmarking and plan to achieve them and raise the benchmarks accordingly. The self-study preparation, collection of data, documents are essential to be the teamwork. In this process, all teachers, staff, management, and other stakeholders will work together, which build a sense of belongingness and collegiality in campus. HAIs will get maximum benefit only if it is done by the HAIs personnels involving all stakeholders and not through consultants. A Paramarsh scheme in this matter is really a good scheme because the teachers will be helping the other teachers to build the quality culture in their institution. Though the external accreditation agencies inform where the institution stands in quality, but long-lasting improvements in quality cannot come about only by external evaluation. Hence, NAAC has advocated the establishment of internal quality assurance cell in all accredited institutions. And it is observed wherever the IQAC is active, they have improved in the quality. And having internal quality assurance system is important even in the non-accredited colleges to build the quality culture in their institution. And NAAC has introduced one of the metrics on IQAS, that is a system, internal quality assurance system. And NAAC has been instilling the momentum of quality consciousness amongst higher education institutions, aiming for continuous improvement through IQAC. Accredited institutions may use their quality label for brand building. It also provides reliable information on quality educations provided by the institution to the stakeholders, especially to the students and parents, to choose the institutions, and to the employers to select the best candidates. Realizing this importance, of IQAC, UGC is funding IQACs of accredited HAIs to sustain quality culture. Even UGC, RUSA, DST, DBT, NCT, statutory regulatory authorities are using the NAAC accreditation status of the HAIs for further funding. Even for the sanctioning of college with potential for excellence status or deemed university status, even autonomous status, even for the open distance learning institutions, also NAAC accreditation is mandatory. Here you see what NAAC expects from educational institutions. NAAC defines as the educational quality is nothing but the quality of the students' experiences provided in the institution campus through relevant and outcomes-based curriculum transacted through the latest and appropriate pedagogical practices. If you look at the current situation, to be successful, the teachers and learners should be conversant with the technology-mediated pedagogical process. Techno-pedagogical skills of the teacher and the digital literacy of the learner decides the efficiency and the effectiveness of the educational transactions. All these good practices, along with the curricular design, will empower the students with the required life skills, employable skills, and empathy towards the society. NAAC assessment and accreditation is built on this NAAC value framework, which is defined through 5 core values. The accreditation tool of NAAC, which is considered as a quality facilitating instrument articulates and aligns these 5 core values within the 7 criteria and its key indicators and metrics. These 5 core values will be guiding points as you move for achieving quality at individual level, at departmental level, and finally culminating at the institutional level. These 5 core values will help you in your goals and flag areas of improvement. Let us deliberate on each of these core values, how they have been built into our accreditation process. If you look at our criteria, first, third, and seventh, you will be able to realize your contributions as teachers and as institution towards these core values. Contributing to the national development, issues relating to these are reflected in the very first metric on the development of curriculum based on the national needs and integration on various socio-economic issues and also issues related to skills, entrepreneurship, courses related to employability, curriculum enrichment, and similarly development of research aptitude. Fostering global competencies among students. Your curriculum in terms of revision and relevance will develop the required competency to compete in the global job market. Inculcating value system among students. In the 7th criterion, the institutional values and best practices puts emphasis on environmental consciousness and other values. All the extension outreach activities, environmental consciousness will transform your students to be good citizens contributing to society and sensitive to the socio-economic challenges. This will empower students who will be able to build a bright future not only for themselves but society at a large. Regarding promoting the use of technology, I need not give you any example. The pandemic has forced us to move towards digital transaction of education and students to be working towards the digital economy. So I need not explain benefits of technology further. By practicing all the above values, the institution automatically transfers into excellence in all its activities. However, only accuracy or a couple of teachers working on the aspects and achieving the goals will not lead us anywhere. It is important that all of us work in a team, sharing the success stories and challenges. It is like the response to the pandemic situation where we maintain a distance and share our challenges and success and work collectively to stop the spread of the virus. If we were limiting to individual levels and not collectively working for the containment of the pandemic, it would have been a disaster. In a similar way, if we have to achieve quality in an institution, it can be done only as a team. Though you have individual definitions of quality and targets set, the benefits can only be reaped when we can institutionalize the good practices. Quality assurance will result in the capacity building of teachers, staff, like developing techno-pedagogical skills for the current situation, sustaining motivation both for teachers and students who are located out of the classrooms and struggling to cope up with the teaching learning. Evolving innovative practices that all of you, I am sure, have experienced and attempted while transforming your teaching learning process in the current situation. All these capacity building, sustaining motivation, evolving innovative practices will culminate into a success story only if you retrospect and undertake a critical self-appraisal. This means you will ensure quality with two important components. You remain accountable to your stakeholders, given whatever the situation be, and you work towards continuous improvement. This means at an individual level and institutional level, you take entrepreneurship approach and each one of you will be an entrepreneur leading the academic and administrative activities of the institution despite several risks and challenges. Let us look at the highlights of current assessment and accreditation process. As all of you or most of you are aware that now NAAC has gone for online assessment and accreditation process since July 2017. It has made the process completely automated, means the submission of IIQA, SSR, even the DVV responses, or if you have any clarification, everything will be done through the portal which is created for you on registering with NAAC. And even the logistic and other partners like DVV partner and the PA team, even the NAAC officials will have their own portal, and these will be done through all the queries answered, and even the selection of the peer team, everything will be done through the system. Here we have introduced one thing is the pre-qualification and the benchmarks. To calculate the final result, we have identified the benchmarks which are confidential, and based on the data given or the values claimed by the institutions after DVV process, if it is finalized, that will be subject to the benchmarks, and the final scores are arrived at by the system. Everything is done by the system. And pre-qualification is once the quantitative process is over, that the DVV process is over, the system will calculate the scores, and if the institution scores 25% or above in the quantitative metrics, then they will be qualified for peer team visit. And it is a data-driven assessment and accreditation framework. As all of you know, the DVV process, mainly 70% of the metrics are based on the data. Only 30% of the metrics are evaluated by the peer team. And for this, we have templates, and you have to submit the supporting documents. And one more important thing is the online student satisfaction survey, which is done by the system, and it is conducted by NAAC. Again, you are aware there are 7 criteria, which are the dimensions encompassing academic and administrative management activities of the higher education institutions. These criteria are delineated into key indicators. There are around 32 key indicators, which are specific functional aspects of the institutions under each criteria. Metrics are the actual tasks or the operations carried out. Each key indicators are having several metrics, and these metrics are divided into 2: qualitative metrics and quantitative metrics. Qualitative metrics are evaluated by the peer team, and the quantitative is validated and verified by the DVV partner. This is just a nutshell of the process. Most of you are familiar. Just I would like to say, the first step is the submission of IIQA. If IIQA is accepted, you have to submit the SSR within 45 days. And once you submit the SSR, it will be automatically assigned to the DVV partner and the NAAC official, and the student satisfaction survey will start. And if it is rejected, then you can come again after improving or complying with the statutory requirements, and you have 2 attempts within a year, and you can use the same fee for the same for 2 attempts. And once the DVV starts, they will look into your SSR and your data, documents, and the templates, and if there is any documents required further to confirm the data, or if there is any mismatch, they will raise the queries. They seek queries through portal only. No emails are entertained or the hard copies. I have already told you that pre-qualification requires 25% of the scores on quantitative metric. And once the institution passes the pre-qualification stage, they have to prepare themselves for the peer team visit, and they need to give 3 slots for the peer team visit, and they have to inform about the logistics also, that I will be telling later on also. Then once the peer team visit is completed, and the student satisfaction survey is completed and the DVB, the system collate all the things and calculates the CGPA and decides the grade as per the grading pattern of the NAAC. This is the screenshot of the HAI login page. If you are already registered, you may put your login ID and the password and you can log in into your portal that's called HAI portal. And if you have not registered after 2017, you need to register again. And if the institution is already accredited by NAAC, however, even if they have lost their accreditation validity, they have to write it is, if we for the question, are you previously accredited? They should say yes. If they are not accredited at all, then they can say no. And if they say yes, they will get one more screen that they have to inform which cycle they are coming and previous accreditation details. And if you click on the register after filling all the things, it will get registered and you receive a email with the link, and you have to click on the link within 7 days. Otherwise, it will get lapsed. In that case, such cases, you need to write to NAAC and don't try to register again. And here, one more thing I would like to say, you have to give the institutional email ID and not the personal email ID. If the person leaves, you will not be able to access, and all the communications will be sent to the registered email ID. So if you don't have any email ID of the institution, please create and register it. And once you click on the link which was provided, you will get the password and the username. Please keep it with the responsible persons. And in the portal, you can start filling the IIQA. You can apply for reassessment if you have completed only 1 year and not completed 3 years. You can look at the requirement or the eligibility for the reassessment, and you can submit the IIQA. And even for second cycle, that with the submission of IIQA. These are the data required. Anyway, you people know I need not explain this much, I think. And once the IIQA is accepted, you will receive the email to the registered email ID. And this is the portal which appears where it is told IIQA is approved. This is one HAI portal. Here it is a test login, and here it shows which cycle you are coming and different tabs where you can, and this is a support help, what we call as institute issue management system. You can utilize it. This is the structure of self-study report, executive summary, profile of the institution, and the extended profile, which is the common data for many metrics, and which it will be normally come as the denominator. Or denominator value will be extracted from here. And the quality indicator framework is the metric, qualitative and the quantitative. And data templates and documents you have to provide for the quantitative metrics. The data template is already uploaded on the NAAC website. Under Apply Online tab, you can see all the documents, manuals, data template, SOP, everything. And there is an optional metric option for the institutions. We have provided it because we felt some of the activities may not be relevant to some of the institutions. The important thing is, before jumping into the assessment and accreditation, please go through all the metrics in the manual. Initial pages tell you what we meant by different metrics, key indicator and other things, and the weightage given for each indicator and the metric and other things. But the important one is understanding of the metrics, which is very important. We have seen while looking at the DVB documents provided and data templates, somewhere we feel some of the institutions have not understood properly, and they have given some things from other metrics. We can see that they have certain things, but they have not shown it or provided those documents in the relevant metric. Hence, Please look at the metric and read the metric along with the SOP and the glossary for better understanding of the metric. And you have to give the data information, both quantitative and qualitative. Upload the relevant supporting document in the metric, and it should be correct. And the data templates, supporting documents, and links are very important for verifying the claims. In the SSR application, even the IIQA, there are tooltips which are in the question mark form. If you take the cursor on the question mark, it says what you have to fill and the limitation of the document and other things. This is the screenshot of the portal of an institution where they have submitted their IIQA is already accepted, and the notice here you can see 45 days from the IIQA approval date, and one by one tabs you can open, and you can look at the things and you can fill, and it also shows you can see the completion of your SSR over here, and you can create different login IDs for different persons, but it should be monitored by a responsible person. These are the extended profile questionnaires. Anyway, you will find it in the manual. I need not explain. This is again the screenshot of the extended profile, where you have to give the input over here and you have to upload, and the data template format it will be available over here. This is also available. There are 7 criteria and 32 key aspects and quantitative metrics. There are 7 criteria. All of you are aware of these things: curricular aspect, teaching, learning, to the institutional values and best practices. Let us look at, there are 5 kinds of quantitative metrics, which first kind is, or one of the kind is the metric which seeks year-wise data. That is last 5-year data. Here you can see in this, here it asks for the last 5 years data, and the assessment period is decided by the application or the SSR by NAAC, depending on the date of submission of the IIQA, and the cutoff date for the assessment year or the assessment year changes on 1st June of every year. For example, this institution has submitted this IIQA after 1st June of 2019. If you submit it after 1st June 2020 or on 1st June 2020, the assessment years will be 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19 and 19, 20. This is just to prepare yourself beforehand. You should know when you are submitting the IIQA and which will be the assessment period. Otherwise, you will prepare for some assessment period or some academic year, and by chance that academic year is deleted and the other academic years are coming, then you will be in a problem, and you have to prepare the whole documentation things again for the next academic year. Second type of question is the quantitative metrics, which seeks block year data collectively for the last 5 years. That means you have to give the 5 years data, but you will not give year wise, but you will give for the whole 5 year in the metrics. Third kind is the multiple choice. All of you are familiar with the multiple choice questions. Fourth one is the metric which seeks the input data for the last completed academic year. For the assessment year, assessment period 14-15 to 18-19, you have to, the last completed academic year is the 18-19 academic year. You have to give the data of this year, And if the metric asks for the percentage, you need not calculate the percentage. There will be a sub question, sub metric, which asks number of students undertaking project work or something or number. You have to give the number and the system calculates the percentage or the average. Whatever the submetric gives, of course, it is provided, the boxes are provided only for them, but looking at the metrics, you shouldn't calculate the percentage and provide percentage. You have to give the number. You look at the submetric. And fifth kind of metric is where the system calculates the data or the answer, like student full-time teacher ratio or computer student ratio, wherein we get the data from the extended profile input. This is the data template format, which is in Excel, and it is available on NAAC website also. You can download and look at these data templates, try to fill and keep it ready. However, when you submit the SSR, you look at the data template available in the application. By chance, if it is changed, you should not be in a disadvantaged position. So look at it. It will be same almost, but sometimes it might get changed. So you keep the data template ready, but before uploading, once you confirm the format is in the format given in the SSR application, do not alter any row or the column of the data template, because we have specific instructions to the DVV partner to look at certain things and to verify the data. If you change, they may get confused and the data may vary. This is another one. Here I would like to say, we are observing most, I will not say most, some of the institutions, the enrollment requirement or the earmarked reserved category student seats will be given here based on the state government now. And the SC/ST students who are enrolled in the institutions will be given here. If the SC/ST students, you shouldn't give the data of the SC/ST students who are admitted against the general quota. You have to give only those students number who are admitted against the SC/ST quota or the OBC quota. We are finding even the SC/ST students who are admitted against general quota are also given in this data template. These are the rules for the optional metric. You can opt maximum weightage of 30, that is 3%. And beyond that, the system will not allow you to accept. So you be prepared which are the metrics you have to opt out. And in each criteria, maximum weightage you can opt out is 10. Beyond that, you can't opt out. And criteria first, second, seventh are essential and no metric can be opted out. And metrics identified as optional metrics are given on the website, and you can opt out only those metrics. And qualitative metrics are not for opting out. This is the screenshot where the institution is trying to look at the optional metric. The system itself shows which are the optional metrics once you fill the data, and you can select accordingly, and you can save, and you can even deselect it, and you can finalize depending on the situation or context of your institution. Let us look at this data validation and verification process, which is very important, and it is the game changer. As I informed you earlier, as soon as the SSR is submitted, it will be assigned to a DVV partner. If he has, or if the DVV partner or the things has any conflict of interest with the institution, then they will say they will not take up your SSR for verification. Otherwise, they will accept, and once they accept, they will look into your institution's quantitative metrics, the data template, and the supporting documents which are uploaded along with this, and they will verify it with your own institutional website, AISHE and NIRF if you have participated, and UGC website, and even the AICT website if it is if your institution is offering any program which are governed by the AICTE. What I meant is, we don't look at only your data template and the supporting document. We also look at other sources to verify your claims. And if there is any mismatch, then accordingly on pro rata basis, the value will be reduced or increased. And once they verify and they have a fairly good idea of the metric data, they raise the queries for both the extended profile questions and the quantitative metric questions. And, you have to answer to those queries within 15 days from the date of when you receive the query. Here you have to be very careful. Again, what they have asked, if they have asked certain select persons information or the document, you have to give the document for the respective persons or the respective activity, whatever they have asked for. If by chance, if you feel that document is not available, like we had a query from one of the institutions, they told we do not have the student ID who have already passed, and which we had given in the 14-15 session or 15-16 session as an academic year. What can we do? In such cases, you can give the admission register what you have, where their name is available, whole details of the student is available along with the photograph, or where university has approved the admission of those students. You can, the head of the institution, the principal has to authenticate the document. That means you have to put your seal and signature and you can submit. You can explain the DVV partner accordingly. You can say already they have left and collecting the ID card is very difficult for us. But however, we have the admission register of those students, we are submitting it. You have to provide them the supporting document. If you say there are 100 students, you should give them the supporting document. You should think whatever we have given in the SOP is only suggesting. You will know better what document will prove your claims. Yeah, and once you submit your clarification, the DVV partner will again look into the things and they give the remarks. And once the DVV process is over, the DVV deviation report will be generated and it will show whether they have accepted your claim or they have changed it after clarification or they have changed it drastically. Everything will be known to you. If you feel anything is not correct, you can raise the query. Because once it is updated, or if you have been declared as pre-qualification passed, we will not be able to do anything in the portal. So you have to be very alert. Every day you have to log into your email ID, which is registered with NAAC, and the portal for the updates or any notifications. And you have to look into NAAC website also, and general notifications will be put on the website. This is the DVV page where the institution has given this the multiple choice metric. It has told we are having 2 of the above things, and the DVV on verifying the data template and the supporting document says no, you have not given the supporting document for 2 activities, you have given only 1. So they say it is 1 of the above. Still the institution says 2, but they might have not given the document properly. So finally the DVV decides 1 of the above. Here it is very important that you have to give the supporting documents. And please see, when you submit the SSR, the data template value, the value given in the SSR, and the supporting documents which are in complementary and not contradicting each other. Be precise while submitting the SSR also. Tell the correct things. Give the correct and relevant supporting document. Don't give the bulky one where they will not be able to find the exact supporting things. So give whatever is necessary and which supports or which tells the DVV partner whatever you have claimed is correct. And if it is a huge document like minutes of the meeting, there are 3-4 pages and there are so many other decisions which are taken, you may highlight the decision which is relevant to this metric. That will help the DVV partner, even the NAC coordinator, to look at and say, yes, they have given this correctly and that is right. If you give a bulky document and even if you don't highlight, and they may not be able to verify your data, and in that case you may lose certain things. And it is only 5 MB upload space provided even in the SSR and the clarification tab. Beyond 5 MB, you have to upload all the things on the website. I would like to request all of you, please upload all the information as possible, almost all informations except confidential ones on the website, and keep it ready. Even if in the link or in the document, if they may not find, when they look at the website, they will find it, and give the right caption for the or the tab names so that they can verify it properly and they can accept your claims. This is, as I have told, only 15 days is given to DVV clarification. And if you need extension due to natural calamities or political disturbance or situation like this, you may request for the extension of time. It will be given, but you have to ask before 2 or 3 days to avoid the holidays and other things. And you need to ask, giving the right reason through the portal where there is a support and help, which is called issue management system. And if you don't ask for the extension, or if you don't even put the things, you don't submit, then on the 15th day, last moment, the system will submit your answers, whatever you have uploaded or whatever you have written as it is, and it is considered. If there is no answer for any metric, any queries raised by the DVV partner, then it will be considered as non-response case. You cannot be silent. You have to tell us if there is any issue. You should contact NAC. Everything should happen through the portal. If it is completely or partially non-response, it will be forcefully withdrawn, and it is called as withdrawn case, and your fees will be forfeited, and you have to submit the IIQA again after an year. And these are some of the remarks which DVV partner will be giving for their final value, what they accept. Here no answer changes. The value provided by the institution in the SSR is accepted and are satisfactory supporting, have the satisfactory supporting documents. DVV suggestion recommended is due to the deviation in the input value and the supporting document. DVV suggests new value to the metric before clarification. Even after clarification, they may keep the same clarification, or they may the same value, or they may change the value. HEI clarification accepted is during the clarification, HEI may clarify certain data. They may say whatever they have given is the right, or they may change, depend if they didn't had the clarity on the metric. Then the HEI clarification, if it is found correct, will be accepted, or it will be changed after the clarification. Be truthful, give the right data, correct document, and the relevant document. Otherwise, this deviation report, if it exceeds certain percentage, we may put some penalty, but till now we have not done. It may come in future. More than the penalty, it is about the you are losing the trust of NAC. As this quantitative metric is of 70% deciding factor for the CGPA, this is the game changer. And be serious, put efforts to answer the clarification. And contact NAC through IMS is any unforeseen situation is there, or if you feel something is not considered. This all about the DVV process. With the completion of DVV, the scores of QNM is finalized and SSR is updated with new values or the confirmed values by the DVV, and the response is recalculated with the fresh value of the DVV, and your pre-qualification stage will be announced. This, I think I have already told you 5 MB limit, and you have to give the link if the document is used, and if you have put it on the website. And password protection should be avoided. If it is password protected, initially we took it, but now we are not taking the password protected data or the information, because when it is on the website, it is for the public. We have adopted the public disclosure policy, and you cannot put the links or the information on the Google Drive or the third-party drive and give the links. That will not be accepted by, and your SSR will be rejected. Please provide or put all the data and documents on the institutional website and give the links. All communications are through portal only. And you have to give the geotagged photographs and complete informations and about the physical infrastructure or some of the activities. If you have already taken the photos, okay, fine. If you don't have the geotagged photographs, but you have to write the caption, date, and the activity name on the photograph. That will make, okay, we can consider the things that will confirm that you have conducted those activities. But for the number of classrooms or number of classrooms with ICT enabled facilities or disabled friendly infrastructure, or whichever is as on date data or the last completed academic year data, you have to give the geotagged photographs only. If the documents are in the regional language, kindly translate it in English, and along with the regional language document, that is the original document, you have to give this English translated document also. Even if you give only the regional language document, will not be sufficient, or if you give only English translated version also is not sufficient. Both the things you have to upload. And all finance related metrics, it is unit of measurement is in lakhs. Do not give the absolute amount. And for the financial related things, you have to give the at least one metric. You have to give the complete audited statement certified by CA and finance officer or the bursar for the autonomous colleges, for the PG UG institutions, affiliated colleges, it can be principal and the CA. And if some amount, if you have given is not there in the audited statement, it is under broader head and not the particular head, you can say in the explanation, you should say that, or you can give the explanation and upload that letter also with the signature of principal saying this amount has been given under this broader head, and you have to give the extract of the audited statement certified by the CA. But for that, you should have a complete statement of audited statements earlier. Without giving the complete audited statement with CA certification, if you give the extract, that also may not be considered for some of the metric. As I have told you, pre-qualification, once you qualified, you will go for the peer team visit. And if you are not qualified, you have to come back again after 6 months by applying the, submitting the IIQA. One which is very important is the student satisfaction survey. For that, you have to give the students' details in the SSR. Unless you upload this, you will not be able to submit the SSR. For this, you have to give the student details in under these headings, like name of the student, gender, category, state of domicile, and other things. And it will be in an Excel file, and the Excel file should contain only one active sheet. And different active sheets, if it is there, it will not be considered. Only one active sheet, and with 500 entries only, maximum 500 entries. If you have beyond 500 students, then you have to use another Excel file. And you have to give minimum of 50% students details. But I would like to advise you, you have all the students detail, or at least 75% of the students detail. Even if you have, there is a problem in the email somewhere or something, you will be able to submit the SSR application. Otherwise, if there is a problem with the email, if you have put extra comma or somewhere some gap or anything, the Excel sheet will not be accepted by the system. And if it is on the last day, you will be under huge tension. So better keep the data of 75% of the students, and this percentage is calculated based on the number of students input what you have given in the IIQA. One more thing I would like to tell you here is, in IIQA, you have to mention all the programs offered by your institution, because NAAC undertakes the institutional accreditation and not the program accreditation. We are hearing from some of the institutions, they say we would like to go only for these 3 programs and not other programs, because they are those programs have not produced not graduated any students in those programs. No, you have to calculate only the first programs where the students are graduated for 2 years. Then you are eligible. Even if you start the program 2 months or 3 months back, you have to give the data in IIQA, data as on date of submission of the IIQA. This is applicable only for the IIQA. Otherwise, for the SSR, it is the assessment period information only should be given. And the students, total number of students is extracted from the IIQA. You have to give the data 50% of that number. These are the certain hints that you shouldn't alter any column or the cells especially in student satisfaction survey. Otherwise, this student satisfaction survey may not take place, and you will miss the weightage for this metric. And repetition of name, email addresses are not allowed, and any typographical error will not be recognized by the system, and the system rejects the Excel sheet. You will not be able to upload the Excel sheet. There is one separate column for unique enrollment ID. In the absence of a separate unique enrollment ID, the HI can submit the student ID or enrollment ID, but it should be unique to that student. Yeah, on-campus student data may only be given to the NAAC through. I think these things are available in the manual, and most of you are familiar that 10% or 100 students should answer to this student satisfaction survey. Otherwise, this will not be considered for calculating the CGPA. Normally, this student satisfaction survey will be completed within 1 month from the date of submission of the SSR. Normally, it starts on the first day of submission of the SSR. Sometimes it may delay if there is a huge queue in the emails. Once you submit the SSR, you have to be very careful and you should be alert. And this is once you qualify the pre-qualification stage, you have to submit the second installment fee, logistic fees, and you have to inform us the 3 date slots, 2 days each slots, 3 slots you have to give us through the portal. Everything happens through the portal, and you have to tell us which is the nearest airport or nearest railway station, and which is the best, I mean, hygienic hotel nearby your institutions. It should not be, normally it shouldn't be away from the institution. Try to give the names of the hotels nearby, which is maximum 20 to 30 kilometers. Otherwise, the PAT members should waste their time in the travel. And once the PAT visit is completed, the PAT members will submit the scores through the portal, and the system generates the scores, clubbing both all the 3, the quantitative metric scores, student satisfaction survey score, and the qualitative metric scores, and it decides the CGPA, and depending on the CGPA, it puts your institution on a letter grade, corresponding letter grade. Once the accreditation is over, it is announced. It will be announced in the standing committee meeting. Even though the system calculates and keeps everything ready, it will be placed before the standing committee, and the standing committee declares the result officially. And normally the standing committee meets once in a month. And once you get the result, you can look at the PAT report and statistical analysis of the quantitative metrics and the institutional grade sheet in your portal. And as I have said already, you have to use this support help desk. This is which we call issue management system for all the queries. And here we have provided even the things to upload. If you have anything, there is a technical problem, you can upload the screenshot of the error page, what the message it is showing, so that we will look into that. Or if you are claiming certain things, you can upload those documents. Within 24 hours, we reply to you. And if you are not registered with NAAC, then you can send your query to the help desk. We have a dedicated help desk in NAAC. Before closing, I would like to take some of the examples where we have observed the institutions are erring. Some of the institutions in the metric, we ask for the full-time teachers data and not the permanent teachers data. Please don't get confused. Full-time teachers are employed for at least 90% of the normal or statutory number of working hours, or they will complete the course, at least 90% of the course which is assigned for that year. And you have to give even if they are part-time teachers, if they are taking the class like full-time, permanent teachers, you have to consider them as full-time teachers. And for number of students, you have to give the admission extract submitted to the university. Or if for the SC/ST students enrollment, you may give the extract which you have submitted, or the documents which you have submitted to the SC/ST cell of the government or the Department of Education, whichever is applicable. What I mean to say is, you have to submit those supporting documents where it confirms, it is authenticated by the authority. And I have already told you, for all financial related metrics, it is in lakh and not in absolute amount. And you have to provide the audited financial statement certified by the CA or FO or principal. And some of the things what we have observed in the awards are anything and everything institution would like to give as award. You should read the metric, whether it is state level award or a national level award or international level award. If it is local or district level or given by some person, it will not be considered. And even if it is appreciation letter, it will not be considered. And feedback, we have seen most of the feedbacks are on teachers sometimes. It will not be on curriculum. Here, you should remember that the question is on the curriculum, whether the institution collects the feedback on curriculum and from whom all are you collecting it. In that case, you have to give the filled in form of the curriculum from all the stakeholders from whom you are taking the feedback. And somewhere if you are using the things, you can give the screenshot where the institution name appears, and even in the publication you have to give such a document where it shows the teacher's name, affiliating institution name or the college name, when it is published, in which journal or in which book it is published, what is the ISSN number and what is ISBN number. All the information should be available, and it should not be before the assessment period or not after the assessment period. We are seeing that what I meant is the bulk document. Sometimes you give even the irrelevant documents that will make the DVV partner that they will not be able to verify properly, or sometimes it will mislead and you may be ending up with a loss. And do not claim the activities or anything in different metrics. If you have claimed something in one metric, do not claim it in the other metrics. But if it is related, like number of projects sanctioned by the government, and there is a fund fund what you have got from the government under the project, those things you can give. But the activity, you will be claiming some activity under value added program, you will be claiming it under 7th criteria, some other metric. Such things should be avoided. You should decide where it fits best, and you have to give those activities under that metric only. And I would like to end the things saying quality is an investment and not an expense. Please think it is you are investing and you are not spending certain things. And let us together invest on quality of higher education and march towards the quality enhancement and towards the excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Sandhu Kulkarni. I would request the participants if any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. There are 3 questions I could see in the chat box. Disha Bhakta, can you ask directly to ma'am what you're expecting?
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot. So, ma'am, the first question of mine is that as you have put that the Google Drive links are not allowed. So, what if the institution has its own G Drive purchase with their official mail? Could we allow it for the storage and uploading of the documents over there?
No, it should be on the website only, where public can access it.
Yeah, okay. So even in the website, we cannot make use of
No,
G-links.
no,
That's what
no.
you are telling, right?
No.
Okay. Okay. And so again, just a last emphasis on the question. Even if the G Drive is of the official college itself, then still also no, ma'am?
No, no.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, just a few time back, you said that importance should be given on to the curriculum feedback. So, ma'am, if the colleges like us, which we follow curriculum of a particular university, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
the curriculum directly comes from the university. So, what is your suggestion on how we should take the feedback on the curriculum? And if at all we get the feedback, what should be the procedure after that? Because see, if we are not deemed, then probably we will not be able to do changes. So what should be the cycle that has to be followed even after, let's say, taking the feedback? So any ma'am suggestions on that?
See, you have taken the feedback. There are three things which you can do. Is one is you can send it to the affiliating university saying these are the aspects students are requesting, or the employee or the stakeholder or anything. You can analyze and give it to the university. When they revise the curriculum, they may consider it if it is
Okay.
appropriate and if they feel. Otherwise, if you feel there is something which is current and which is required for the students for their jobs or for facing certain things, you can take extra classes, or in your teaching learning process itself you can inbuild those things. You can go
Okay.
beyond the curriculum. No one will
Right.
stop you beyond the curriculum, but you cannot avoid certain things which are given by the university. You can
Okay.
do that also. If it is an autonomous college, very well they can inbuild those things in their curriculum. They have the freedom to revise their curriculum.
Okay. Ma'am, just an additional thing on this. So, as colleges, okay, we do also emphasize on adding additional certifications to the students, right? So, is it possible that whatever that feedback on the curriculum we get, and maybe the action taken on it would be a new certification which we might have came into the next academic year, because maybe, let's say, that part of curriculum was lacking or something like that. So can that be accepted, right, ma'am?
Yeah, that can be. Or even in the teaching, you may not give the certificate. While teaching that subject or the course, you may enrich those things.
Okay. And maybe somewhere we can document it, and
Yeah,
we can
sure.
just
Yeah, but
okay.
it will be considered under add-on course if it fulfills certain criteria. Like
Yes,
it
yes.
should be over certain period of time, and it should have syllabus and other things. But certain things without the syllabus also, the teacher individually can give them the information or the skills. No, they can develop those things in the students.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you. And ma'am, it was very nice presentation. So many clarity was there. So thanks a lot, ma'am. So many things you have explained wonderfully well, ma'am, today. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. We'd like to hear you again. Yeah.
I think Sharad Tajne sir has raised his hand.
Dr. Sharad Tajne from
You want to say something?
Madam, if we admit the student, SC/ST student, as per merit list, again the general quota, can we extend the fees concession and etc.?
In fee concession scholarship, you can consider them, but not the enrollment of SC/ST students against the quota, that particular metric.
No, as far as tuition fee is concerned and their scholarship is concerned, can we extend it?
Yeah, that you can claim under the scholarship, where government scholarships provided to students, that you can claim. There it is not the things. Enrollment, what is the thing? 1 minute. That metric, particular metric is, I think somewhere SC/ST students enrolled. For that, you can't consider the general quota students who are admitted against general, sorry, SC/ST students who are admitted against general quota. Otherwise, scholarship, yes, you can. This is a 2.1.2 average percentage of seats filled against seats reserved for various categories. Under this, you cannot consider their number if they are admitted or enrolled against SC/ST, general merit seats.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
scholarships, yes, you have to add them.
very clear. I am just asking if SC/ST admitted again the general quota as per the merit list. Huh. So can we extend the scholarships and other concessions to them?
Yeah, yes, sure. You have to give them.
Okay, okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharad sir. May I have any other questions? I think, ma'am, you have solved their queries. I think we'll move on ahead. Ma'am, your first thing is your PPT was excellent. They are all self-explanatory, and your method of communication is very beautiful. Also, you made us listen carefully to all the points, even though we had joined after the lunch. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and valuable time, ma'am. We appreciate your patience and wholehearted efforts in making us things crystal clear about documentation process. Your presentation was excellent, informative, enlightening, and satisfying the needs of the participants. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again. I'd like to express my gratitude to Sujata madam for giving us this presentation and guiding us in this aspect. The documentation is very important aspect because many of us do a lot of work, put a lot of efforts, etc. throughout the year. And if it is not recognized, if it is not in black and white, or if it is not properly presented, well documented, then it has no meaning at all. So a proper format has to be followed and it has to be done. That's true, madam. And I think we'll all adhere to it. I would like to thank our management, Somaya management, and Principal Dr. Veena Sanikar madam for allowing us to organize this kind of activities and providing us guidance and support. I also like to extend my deep gratitude to the principals and the teachers and the IQAC coordinators from the other colleges who have participated, who have joined from the corner of the nation, and the IQAC team members of KJ Somaya College of Arts and Commerce, then project assistant teachers of KJ Somaya College of Arts and Commerce, then our beloved mentee institutions, and not to forget UGC NAC. I thank each one of you, the participants, and everyone for making this event a grand success by sharing your information and being a part of this event. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, before we come to an end, so we request we'll rise for a national anthem. Sunil sir, please play the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात द्राविड उत्कल आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे